speaking about Jason Aldean, I know you've spoken about this before, and I wanted to approach this with a lot of sensitivity and out of respect for victims' families.
Sure.
But I know that you were there for Route 91.
Yep.
Can you take me through that evening?
Yeah, sure. I think I said this a while ago. When you're in the middle of a tour, it sort of becomes Groundhog Day. It's funny. You see it in TV and commercials. The artist on a commercial come out and say, "Good evening, Detroit," and they're in Chicago. So you sort of wake up like that every day. Go, okay, where am I at today and what's going on? We were coming off of amphitheaters, and this was obviously a festival. So it was just, another day. My wife had actually flown in. The show was on a Sunday, and she had gone to a wedding in Dallas with some friends and flew in and, got in the afternoon. I said, "Hey, just come down at catering. We'll eat." And she had some friends there. And her friend's daughter was 18, first concert she ever went to.
Wow.
It's crazy. So, it started off normal. And just everything's running on time. And I had gone and found Stormy Warren. And I said, "Hey, dude, I'm not flying home with Jason tonight, so there's a seat on the plane. Do you want to take my seat?" He's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm sure. So he had brought his stuff in. I threw it in our production office. And I told my wife, I said, "Look, I'm wiped out." We'd been out west for 3 weeks. And I said, "Meet me in the production office, like 4 or 5 songs in. I'm going to pack up, and then we'll be ready to go to the hotel really quick when the show's over." And I'm standing there zipping up my backpack, and I hear the first shots. And I wear ear monitors too, like you do, or any artist, but mine's to hear my radio because I'm hard hearing. But I grew up hunting coyotes and hogs. I know what a 308 sounds like. I knew immediately we were in trouble. And my wife was texting her friend, and she said, "Oh, that sounds like fireworks." And about that time, my radio went off, and it was our stage manager going, "Hey, do we have fireworks?" And I'm like, "No, we don't. We got a problem." And, some of that's a blur. So my immediate thought was to get some other of my kids. I'm like,
sure,
I'm going to take her to my bus. So we came out immediately. I just said, "Follow me." And I came out, and, I don't know if you remember, but in the video, you saw it on TV, he had knocked out 2 windows, and he would switch back and forth. And that is crazy what the echo sounded like on the ground. So, I was convinced there was 5 shooters and who knows where.
Well, yeah, you hear about that all the time, right?
And that's true. And I hear tons of things just from, everybody's got their own experience. That's the thing I realized quickly. Well, I don't know how quickly. We each had our own, and because the other thing that's interesting, like if I'm with the band or Jason or our guys that were in it, it's different how we talk about it. I can talk about it publicly and actually spend a lot of time on some panels with security and different things, but to do for future, but some guys can't. And I understand. I respect all of that. But anyway, I took my wife to the bus thinking I was going to put her in the middle and put a mattress on her and then go try to help get Jason. And when I opened the door of my bus, just like your car or truck, when the light comes on, well, the light came on and he shot the bus 7 times. And the first one missed me about that far, and I was covered in glass. And I had pushed my wife down on the floor, and she's like, as you can imagine, hysterically screaming. And I'm like, just the adrenaline was, I never experienced, obviously nothing like this, but the adrenaline was just, it's just, everything became tunnel vision for me. And it was like, it was crazy. And then I felt another bullet go by, and it went through the window beside, and that probably missed my wife about 3 inches. So, that was, it was surreal. She's screaming, and then I can just hear him, you can just hear, and he's just unloading. And she kept saying, "Why isn't somebody stopping them?" And then it went quiet, and the door of my bus opened. Well, I'll back up real quick. When I opened and shut the door and got on, I locked it. And then I took one step, and I thought, man, the band's going to be coming. So I stepped back and unlocked it. That's where God had his hand on me. Because if I hadn't known that bullet, and I can show you the picture later, but it just went right by my head. So But when the door opened, it ended up being our merch guy. And then the crazy thing is, in my ears, I could hear they were laying down, but I could hear somebody hollering. So I put my ears on, and it was our front of house guy was screaming for help. They were taking fire. And I just remember looking at our merch guy, Cody, and I said, dude, whatever you do, do not leave my wife. And I don't know what I thought I was going to do, but I was going to go help Cody. And I came off the bus and went around the front. And when I got around to the left front tire, there was a young lady there, shot in the head and in really bad shape. And we had a blonde-headed young lady on our lighting crew. And this young lady was covered in, so I couldn't tell if it was her. So I got down on my knees to see, and it wasn't. And my radio's going off, and I'm like, okay. And about that time I look up, and I saw two of our band guys jump off the side of the stage, and they were down then by the bus. And all I could think to do was get them on the bus. And just so, and that, not to sound brave, or it just happened. I made 5 trips while he was still shooting and put people on the bus because I didn't know where else to put them. And, it wasn't like, our bus drivers and me are the only ones that had hotel rooms. Not that it would have mattered in that situation, but, the buses were the only logical place. And it was, as you can imagine, and it was absolute pandemonium. And people, still getting shot, and it was something. Oh. Not it forever changed our industry, but it's crazy that our world is, that we wake up. That's one of probably the biggest stressors, and still doing what I do today. I mean, I wake up, I always have that.
Was it ever a fear you had before?
It was, but probably obviously not to that extent. But most of my friends are military. Most people, not antisocial, but I don't hang around a lot of music folks. I spend most of my time, a lot of buddies in special forces and FBI and stuff. And so I hear them talk, and we all talked about it. And, if you really stop and look at it, when stuff starts happening overseas, it's usually a year or two later it's going to start happening here. And so I had worried about it. And then, what was it, the club in Florida had just happened, I think right before. So, you worried about it, but to be honest, though, in Vegas at Route 91, there were 50-plus uniformed officers backstage. It's fenced off. I'm thinking, so, and, I wouldn't, even today, I wouldn't say, there's nothing you can plan,
No, yeah.
You can't prepare at the time who's thinking there's somebody 32 floors up across the street. So
yeah. How would you say that's changed you and how you do your job?
I think that it's completely changed. Just for me, I start with that's the first thing I think about when I look at a city. It's I make sure our security guys have all the answers, the information, and the resources they can get, because, we're moving from city to city, and, fortunately it affects all of us in every format. And my son works in football at a college, in the SEC, so it's not just us. Everybody's aware of it. I think that it's just a different time. You can't stop everything, but you still, and also for me, it's remembering we're still in the fun business. So I can't walk around all day looking like, okay, the wheel's fixing to come off somewhere. So it's finding that balance, but you plan, and then you do the best you can.
Thanks everybody for watching What's Mine is Yours. Make sure to like and subscribe, and to check out more of our other videos.